Nights are too good.
Hello everybody, and today we'll be talking about none other than, what is on my screen right now? The Eminence in chat.
Are you?
Sid Kagano, as we will call him, and we will know to love him as the ultimate Giga Chad of the universe that he's part of. He is so fucking funny as a character. He's so fucking
look at that
badass.
angle, bro.
Everything
I'm just too good at this game, bro. The Atlas knows it.
is so good.
I don't finish off
This is
way.
like an honest review, by the way, of the show. So I'm gonna go down the list.
Yo!
Dude, I'm so cracked at this game, bro.
About this show, and just so you know, there will be some minor spoilers. I've only seen up till episode, I think, 13. So that was up until that point. I'll try to make spoilers at a minimum, but I will just talk about some things that you probably wouldn't have caught on your first watch through. So let's take a deep dive into the iceberg that is Eminence in Shadow. Now, first and foremost, we need to talk about setting the tone of the story. In the first episode immediately hooks you. Because what happens in the first episode? You set up this whole scenario, this whole world, all this detail, only for it to not matter in the second episode. So, but what matters in the first episode is the style, the setting, the tone, the main character, Sid. All of this, you get to a good grasp of the rest of the story, which is a great first episode. In the first episode, they play fucking Moonlight Sonata. Like, you know a show is gonna be good when they play Moonlight Sonata from fucking Beethoven or whatever. Anyways, I'm just a sucker for classical music. Anyways, as we move on, foreshadowing. Episode 2, there's or maybe episode 3, I'm not sure. He finds like this old bandit after this cult of Diablos. I will be explaining a little bit of the plot. They find this cult, and they eventually learn that one of the cultist leaders' daughter was being experimented on, who turns out to be new. Spoilers. He eventually recruits all of these possessed, quote-unquote, humans who were just involved in these radical experiments by the cult of Diablos and made objects of scorn. They have twisted history, quite literally. I also love it's not really cliche, but I love the twists of, like, the main character's lies becoming real, kind of like Usopp from One Piece. I love that. That's so sexy. Foreshadowing in this story is crazy, dude. It's all about, like, it's all about paying attention to the minor details, like the necklaces and things, putting two and two together. It's very Souls-esque, the way they tell the story. If you have played Elden Ring, you know that it's not handed to you. It's a show don't tell story, which is exactly what you want in a good show. It's a show don't tell, not a tell don't show. So anyways, moving on down the list, we have aesthetic. And I love the aesthetic. Because he made this whole point about, like, you can only wear the long flowing cape when it's at night like this. Everyone knows that. And as funny as this show is, it can go from funny to emotional on a dime, all while keeping it real, dude. It's that good shit, dude. The style, the aesthetic, it's just a fun watch, dude. And honestly, the plot is so good, too. Like, there's a revenge plot, spoilers, I'm pretty sure. There's gonna be there's a nice ironic twist over cruel irony in the show. It's very serious, it's very dark at times. It reminds me a lot of Overlord. It reminds me a lot of SAO, but combine them into a great love child. And I only say SAO because the main character kind of looks like Kirito. Because, look, he kind of does look like Kirito. But regardless, the show itself is very, very well done. Some of the greatest animation I've ever seen. One of the coolest moments was when he would go, I am atomic. You know? Real ones know where that one is. The whole show is heavily inspired based off King Arthur, the Knights of the Round fairy tale, and I'm pretty sure Sid's story is specifically based off of the Black Knights fairy tale from King Arthur. If you do not know this fairy tale, I don't blame you. It's a very old historical fairy tale. It's passed down via generations via word of mouth, so if you don't know the fairy tale, it goes something like this. King Arthur, after pulling the sword from the stone and taking credit for all of Lancelot's work, eventually has kids, and one of his grandchildren, I believe, the Black Knight and the White Knight, eventually are who we will become to know as Sid, and whoever the White Knight is, we don't know. But I think that the Black Knight is Sid. This is just my headcanon. Because the Black Knight follows a very strict sets of rules. He is clearly justified in all actions he takes. He is clearly a hero, right? But also, he clearly is mentally unstable, just like Sid is. I mean, Sid fucking killed himself to get magic and more power. Sid is mentally unstable, to say the least, and that's what makes him a great character. He's not an all-encompassing, perfect being. He straight up tells one of the characters he does not think he's a good person, which makes him the single greatest and most likable character I've ever seen in any piece of fiction ever. Because he's not this all-encompassing hero. He's not a villain. He's just a dude who wants to fuck around and find out. And let me tell you, dude, I found out how good this show was when I watched it. If you haven't seen Eminence in the Shadow, man, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I would say it's 10 out of 10. If you liked Overlord, if you liked Goblin Slayer, if you liked darker, more mature themed shonen, this is the show for you. Anyways, that's it. See ya.